Hello everybody, thank you for tuning into my channel. Earlier this week I had a life-changing event that happened to me, completely just changed life as I know it, honestly. That's the best way that I could say it. Kind of had like a mic drop moment on my Instagram post where it was like I had this life-changing event, I need a few days to process it, I'll be coming back to you guys with a video, and here's the video. Gosh, it's like I feel like there's been so much build up to this moment. Probably anticipated more in my head than anything else, but I feel like there's been so much build up that it's like I feel like I need to announce it in this beautiful, magical way, but that's only an expectation I'm putting on myself. So I took LSD earlier this week, and it was, I will tell you how it was. To start out, my past with psychedelics, as many of you know, I'm a huge cannabis fan. I love cannabis. I have gotten a dose of a psychedelic experience, if you will, when I consume cannabis. I've felt like my mind went into a psychedelic path. I've made connections and things and felt connections to earth and made connections from my past with cannabis, but I've never really had a psychedelic experience outside of that. I've always been very scared of psychedelics. I didn't know that I didn't think I could handle a psychedelic experience. I read so many books and saw podcasts and did research. I watched Joe Rogan a lot. He talks a lot about psychedelics. I read this book, part of it, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. It was fantastic. He does a lot of research, personal experience research and just academic research on psychedelics. So I've done a lot of research over the past couple of years, but I've been afraid. I've been so afraid of the horror stories, the visuals, what people say it can do to your mind, all the false propaganda that I don't actually believe, but it definitely plays a role in how you think, for sure, especially when you're unprogramming these programs. So I've been really, really scared for so long about psychedelics. And I actually have never really been drawn to LSD. I've been drawn to plant medicines like ayahuasca and psilocybin mushrooms, and I've actually never tried either of those, only psilocybin on a microdosing level. But LSD just, it showed up in my life, and I will tell you the story. It is amazing how it showed up in my life, and it was 100% truth. I had no choice but to take it, and that sounds really bizarre, but if you listen, you'll understand. One thing I'd like to say before I get started with this, I am definitely anticipating some judgment with this video, especially from people in my life that may be watching this, that may be ignorant about psychedelics, that may be stuck years ago, that may still believe the propaganda that's shot out about psychedelics. So I'm anticipating some judgment, but if you are going to watch this video with a judgment eye, I suggest one of two things. Either turn it off and go read a book, educate yourself, watch a podcast, do some research, and then come back, or just go away entirely. I want to start off real quick about LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. I hope I said that right. It is a non-toxic, non-addictive psychedelic drug. It's actually derived from the ergot fungus, and if any of you looked at my story that I just posted, or actually I posted today, which is Saturday, but I'll be posting this on Monday, kind of weird, but I posted a little hint, and that was a picture of the ergot fungus on rye, and that's where LSD is actually derived from. Something very interesting to note, the median lethal dose where 50% of humans die has never been found with LSD, so there's never been one reported death associated directly with the use of LSD. You know, you probably hear of deaths with LSD mentioned, but that has to do with so many other factors of the body, other drugs, so many other things. It's not the LSD in itself that can kill you, because LSD has never been shown to kill anyone. It was first synthesized in 1938 by a man named Albert Hofmann, and it, you know, with the whole craze with the propaganda, I believe in like the 60s or so, it kind of fell off because of all of the government intervention and trying to do this war on drugs thing that completely has brainwashed everyone. But now it's kind of making its way back. MAPS is a huge organization that's bringing psychedelic research back, and I absolutely love what they're doing. Steve Jobs has actually taken LSD 3 different times, and he will say that, or he has said that the LSD experiences he had are one of the most remarkable experiences he's ever had in his life. And who knows if Apple would have been the same today without Steve Jobs taking LSD. And there's just so much emerging research about how all these profound stories of how it's curing people of addictions, changing people's perceptions on death, just PTSD, anxiety, depression, all of these amazing things that it's doing. And I really hope that people start to wake up to the capabilities of such a powerful drug. I mean, it's amazing. I even heard a story today, or I heard something that said one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous took LSD, and he even partly suggested at some point in creating the AA structure that recovering alcoholics should even take LSD to further, I guess, put the nail in the coffin of why they shouldn't be consuming alcohol in the way that they are, how they're contributing to their alcoholic tendencies. So it's just such an amazing compound. But I have to follow it up with this. It is not for everybody, and I sincerely mean that. It is not for everybody, because not everybody is ready to dive into themselves and learn about themselves, lift up the veil. You know, we all live under an illusion, and we live in what I call the matrix, as a lot of people call the matrix once they've taken a psychedelic, or once they've had a psychedelic experience and they understand what I'm talking about. So many things, actually everything, is an illusion. And if you're not ready to face that, then I would absolutely not recommend a psychedelic experience for you. But also, with that being said, I didn't think I had the courage that I had to take this compound, and I did. And during my trip, I realized how much courage I actually hold. So it's unbelievable, like you don't think you're ready, but like I said, this compound and this experience completely found me. I did not go searching for it, and I can see how everything lined up to make that happen. I just felt so called to come on here and share this trip with all of you, because I've had talks with a lot of people who follow me on Instagram about how they're curious about psychedelic experiences, but they've never had one. They don't really know what it's like. They don't know if they're ready. I didn't think I was ready, like I said. I felt like this would be a great video. I'm gonna explain everything that I went through and what I learned. For anybody that's curious, just wants to know what it was like for someone that was completely new, that was very scared and had a lot of fear going into it, and hopefully that helps for anybody that's curious. I believe this journey actually started months ago. I talk about this in my other videos. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I ended a friendship with someone that I was friends with for 23 years, and it was a very painful experience for me. But I ended that friendship. Now, this last week, even now, so basically last weekend, we were supposed to go to India for this friend's wedding. We had already bought the tickets, everything was paid for, everything was planned, and we had it all set and squared away, ready to go. Well, I ended the friendship with her, and I was talking to my husband. I'm like, should we still go to India? I'm not totally sure. And we weighed out the options, and it made more sense for us we didn't get all of our money back, but it made more sense for us to get most of our money back and stay here with just weighing out the pros and cons. So we decided to do that. And last week I was sitting there and I was talking to him, and I was like, babe, we need to look out for an omen. because there is a reason that we're not going to India. Something is going to happen. Like, I got a little scared because I was like, is this gonna be a tragedy? Is something good gonna happen? But I just felt like something was meant to happen here for us, or for me, for the reason of not going to India. So I told him that last week. And so fast forward to Monday. So last week actually being 2 weeks ago, because the timing of me making this video is kind of weird. So 2 weeks ago, I was telling him, like, we need to look out for an omen, something is supposed to happen. Fast forward to that next Monday, which was actually last Monday, a week from when you'll probably be seeing this video released. Fast forward to last Monday, or I guess rewind. This is so confusing. Anyway, last Monday, he was home, he didn't work that day, and he was cleaning out everything. And actually, a couple weeks back, I have a friend who usually gives us psilocybin mushrooms, and I reached out to him, asked him for some. And he was like, I don't have any, but I have some LSD. Would you guys like some LSD? And I've never really been drawn to LSD. I've been more drawn to plant medicines. And so I was like, no, I'm okay. You know, my husband didn't really want any, and that's okay. So now back to Monday. So my husband was cleaning out all of our stuff. Like, we're trying to downsize. So we're cleaning out a bunch of stuff, and he found this mushroom grow kit. He's tried to grow mushrooms a couple times, psilocybin mushrooms, and he hasn't been successful. So he was like, you know what, I'm gonna donate it to this person, to our friend that gives us the psilocybin mushrooms. Maybe he'll have better luck. So he reached out to him, and, you know, this person was like, sure, I'll take it. And I asked my husband, and I was like, are you gonna ask him for something in return? Like, are you gonna ask him for LSD? And he's like, you know, I'm gonna let the universe decide. If he wants to give it to me, donate it back to me, do like an exchange thing, then sure. But, you know, if not, it's not meant for us. So he went and came back, and I was doing my own thing that whole day. And later that night, this was around 5, I was putting away some clothes in my closet, and and then he comes in with this kind of giddy look on his face, and he like shows me the little container of LSD. Like, he shows me this container first. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's LSD. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, it's not LSD. Like, it's like, you know, it's like, I was almost like a kid, like, oh my God, we have LSD. Like, what? And he's like, yeah, you know, I took some. So I guess a full dose is 10 drops of this substance that we had. And he's like, I took 18 drops. And I'm like, okay, like, oh my goodness. And he gave me the bottle. And as soon as he gave me the bottle, I should rewind real quick. This day in particular, I always run myself into the ground. So I always run myself into the ground completely. I pack my schedule till the end of the day, every single day. I'm working on this, but I do this all the time. But this day in particular, I cleared everything by 4, almost effortlessly. And I was like, wow, I have the whole day ahead of me. This is crazy. I have like the whole night. Like, what am I gonna do? I have a clear night. I have nothing to do. My work was all cleared. I had a great day. I did all my stuff I needed to do at home. I did all my stuff from like my Instagram. I did like everything. And I was just sitting there like, this is awesome. I'm clear. And so then I was putting my clothes away. And so then he showed me this thing. And as soon as he showed me it, I grabbed it in my hand. I was like, I'm taking this tonight. I can't explain how I felt, but I grabbed it and I was like, this, like, it just flooded my body. Like, I almost had no choice. Like, everything has been cleared for you to consume this and level up. That's like the voice that just flooded me, and the feelings that flooded my body. But then as soon as I realized I was gonna take it, almost without choice, I got so scared. I was so terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared for this. Like, I didn't eat as healthy as I wanted to today. I didn't eat enough vegetables. I'm not hydrated enough. I was flooded with fear, He went back downstairs, and I was sitting with myself, and I'm like, oh my God, like, how much do I take? Do I take a small dose? Do I take a full dose? 5 drops, 10 drops? Like, what do I do? I was just terrified. And so then he went away. I was sitting there by myself, and I was sweating like profusely. I was just so terrified because I'm like, I can't handle this. I don't know what to do. Like, you know, should I maybe not do this? Is this not the right time? My mind was just like going so intensely, but I just felt so drawn. Like my guides, the universe, whatever you want to call it, just said like, this is right. Like, trust this. And so I like cleaned myself up a little bit, kind of prepared my body, right? I took the acid or the LSD. I went in the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was pretty much almost in tears. And I said, I don't want to be scared anymore. I don't want to have this fear. I don't want to be held back anymore in life and let fear rule me. And I just kept telling myself that I don't want to be scared anymore. I don't want to be scared anymore. I don't want to be scared anymore of everything. You know, I just don't want to be scared. And I closed my eyes and I took 10 drops. I took a full dose. I took a full dose of it, and I went outside, and you know, believe it or not, as soon as the compound hit my tongue and it just kind of absorbed into my mouth, I let go a little bit because I'm like, I took this. And this happened, and it was meant to be. I can't explain to you all how I feel that it was meant to be, but every single thing aligned for me to take it at that moment without preparing, because God only knows that if I would have had time to think about this, I probably would have run myself into the ground with fear and anxiety by the time that I ended up taking it. If I had like a week or two to think about it, I just would have completely imploded and like had a terrible experience. So I almost having no preparation was so much better for someone like me. So now into the trip. So how long has it been? Oh my gosh, long time. Okay. Now into the trip. About 20 to 30 minutes in to the experience, I started feeling it. I don't know what that means. I can't really put it into words, but the first thing I felt was this impulse to create a set and setting. So like you look at things like a remote, or you look at things like clutter or garbage, or you know, things that feel just not peaceful, and you have this impulse to like put them away, like put them out of sight. So I started like just collecting things and putting them away, organizing, like creating this set, if you will. And this, I have this with me because this was a huge part of my trip. This is a Himalayan salt rock lamp, and it was amazing. I mean, it was so grounding. It was changing colors and morphing into things during my experience. So I have this with me here because I want to. That's the first thing I started to feel. Then I started feeling this very peaceful euphoria. It was like, I felt good. Like, it was almost like, what fear? Like, why did I have fear about this? This feels so great. And I have to note, I did trip with 2 people. My husband is one of them, and the other person does not want to be included. So if I mention the other person, I may just say like the other person, but I did trip with 2 other people. The other person, the whole time, because he took it with my husband, he was like, everybody needs to know about this. Like, everybody needs to feel this. And that's kind of what I started to feel. I'm like, this euphoria, like everybody needs to feel this peaceful. Like, this is so amazing. We all were sitting in our living room, and we had our yoga mats out. We created this nice setting. The sun was starting to go down because I took the LSD at 5:41 p.m. So the sun was starting to go down. We had this beautiful thing on, and it was lighting up the room so beautifully. And we all started meditating. And then the other person we were with kind of started going down an interesting road himself. And he was working through some stuff, and I was so fixated on him, and I was so fixated on my husband, and I felt my fixation on others, and then it just embodied me in this feeling of like, oh my goodness, Ashley, this is what you do. You don't pay attention to yourself. You don't love yourself. You put all of your attention towards other people to deflect, and I felt that in my flesh and my bones, and I just started to cry. I was just crying like for myself. It wasn't scary. I was just sad. I was so sad for myself, and I was just letting out these tears. And then this other person was having this experience himself with his own traumas, and I was feeling it too. And I was feeling connected to him. He was struggling. He was coming to realization that he struggles to receive love in life, and I was just embracing him. We were having a moment. We were crying. I felt our souls connected through past lifetimes, through our DNA. Like I felt it woven together. It was just unbelievable, like the lens that I had. And then at this point, my husband came in, and then we all kind of started to like wake up a little bit from this trauma or this dark path that we were going down. And this is when the visuals started for me. So the visuals, this, like I said, started to change colors. This started to morph into different, like it was like breathing, it was morphing. The floor started to breathe, right? So the floor, and I have to say something. When I hear of psychedelic experiences, I always thought I would be so scared of the visuals. I thought I would be so terrified of seeing colors and lights and things move and breathe and feel dizzy and feel nauseous and feel weird. I always had that thought, but seriously, the visuals are amazing, amazing, beautiful. Like you see things in ways I cannot explain in language. Lights, colors, textures, I can't explain it. It is unbelievably beautiful, and every single person, if you're ready for LSD, should experience the beauty of life. Not how we know it. It's so different. So the visuals started, and I remember I went upstairs. This could be a little spotty. I went upstairs, and then my house started to turn into like a mental freak show, like a mental house of horrors for me. Everything had a dark lens to it. It felt like a dark forest. There were different colors in every single room. Space kind of felt weird. Like I remember one room I kind of fell into the floor. The house turned into like a dark freak show. I remember I first started to walk into this room. This is my office. I started to walk into this room, and I almost felt like I was in a daze. Like I was walking, I felt like I was sleepwalking. Like I was like this, just walking towards this room because I felt like it held so much darkness. And this was the first part of my trip that I noticed. Every room held darkness, but I wanted to see it. I wasn't scared. I was like, this is darkness. Show me what it has. Walked into this room, laid on the floor. I fell into the floor. The whole room was lit up with beautiful colors and space, and I just felt so peaceful, like so peaceful. Like it's almost like I approached this room that I felt like it had demons in it. It was so dark, but I was like, it actually has so much light. Like there's no darkness. It was an illusion. The darkness was an illusion. And then I had a moment in here with another person. We were holding hands, and it was beautiful. Then I went upstairs, and I tried to go in my room. I had the same kind of darkness feeling. I was walking around. Everything felt dreary. You feel like a presence. You feel like other energies there, almost like demons. But I walked in, and it wasn't that at all. And I kept being drawn to one other room in our house. We've got 3 bedrooms upstairs. This room that we've tried to go grow mushrooms in, we've always said since we moved in how much energy we feel like is in there. I was drawn to that. I kept going back to that room. And I remember just laying there feeling like I was almost spinning, but like spinning with the universe. And I felt myself levitate up to like a state of like effortless existence, almost like I didn't have a body anymore. But this other person, this was interesting. Our egos kept drawing to one another. So we kept being drawn to, and this is one thing you start to realize when you consume LSD. Your ego becomes separate from you. So this is one thing I was feeling the entire time. I felt egoless. Like my ego did not die, and I will get to that in a second, but I felt like I could see my ego outside of me, and every single action that I do that my ego controls, I could see the ego controlling it, and I was like, oh, like I can't believe I do that. I can't believe I judge that person. I can't believe I, control this. I can't believe I think I can do this. Like all these realizations were coming to me the whole night. and you realize how connected you are with other people. This is why it's so important to trip with the right people, because all their stuff, you will feel their energy, you will feel their presence, you will feel the pain, you will feel everything, because you can feel everything so deeply. So at this part, I was like crawling around upstairs, trying to like fall into my darkness in different times. I was dealing with a lot, I was feeling realizations, and this is when faces started turning like demonic into skeletons. So the people that I was tripping with, like their faces started to look like demons and skeletons, and that was really interesting. Then I went downstairs and we went outside in our backyard. We went outside and we were looking at the sky, and oh my gosh, the sky was unbelievable. It was like there was a whole nother world up there that I had no idea about, all these other like entities and galaxies and space and like just all these other little space vehicles. I saw how the stars were all connected. I fell into the sky. It was beautiful. It was unbelievable. It made me feel like one with everything. Everything. I remember we were talking in the backyard, me and the two people I was with, and we were talking and we were like, oh my gosh, we felt like we shouldn't be talking about this because it was like taboo. We were like, you know, we just shouldn't be like talking about this out loud. Like this is like secret information. Like there's a reason that this is not legal. Like kind of went inside. We had that beautiful experience with the sky, beautiful. And we went back inside, and this is when I think I started to peak. I started getting really paranoid. So this was a pivotal point in my trip. So you lose sense of time. This can be scary if you're not prepared for it. So like the whole time, like I was looking at the clock, but I didn't know what the clock meant. Like if it said like 8:30, I did not know what that meant, because you just don't have this material world perception of time. So you lose sense of time. So you lose this whole sense of time. Like I said, I kept looking at the clock and I did not know what the clock meant. Time became an illusion. It didn't exist. You know, you think, oh, I have to wake up for work tomorrow, but like you don't know what that means. I lost the ability to understand if I was caring for myself properly or not. And this was a huge lesson for me, because this showed me how much I tried to care for myself and control my body and control my vessel when I shouldn't be at all. I should be allowing, and I should be basically just listening to my body for cues on hunger and thirst and all these things of taking care of myself. But my whole life I haven't done that. I've used food as an outlet for stress and hydration as a way to curb anxiety for fear of fainting, because I've been dehydrated and fainted before. So I lost the ability to understand if I was properly caring for myself or not. And this was when I felt like my ego was really starting to die. Like I couldn't understand. Like it was a thing where it's like I would drink water, right? I would drink water and be like, okay, I'm like, so first of all, I felt like I hadn't peed in so long, right? Like in so long, and I looked back, I hadn't peed in so long, and I'm like, but what is long? I don't know what long means. I don't know what 1 hour means. I don't know what 3 hours means. I don't understand. So then I would drink water, and I would drink water, and then like 5 minutes would pass, and then I would be like, okay, I just drank water, and 5 minutes passed, but like, what does that mean? Do I drink more water? Have I drank enough water? When should I eat? I was like, I could not figure any of this out. And it was so terrifying. It was so terrifying because this was the part in the trip where I was like, oh my gosh, I took acid. You know, the person I was with was like, thought he was like overheating at one point. So then I allowed that part of his experience to like come into my experience, and I thought I was overheating, and I was like, I took acid and I'm overheating, and this is like, I don't even like know where this came from, and holy shit, what did I do to myself? And I can't care for myself, and I'm gonna die. And this, in hindsight, I realize now, this was my door. This was my door to allowing myself to die. Because if I would have been able to let go enough to allow myself to die in this experience and allow my physical body to die, if I would have basically said, yes, I'm going to die right now, and laid there and just died, allowed myself to do it, I think I would have experienced a full ego death, and I would have probably experienced a lot of progression in my life, which I've experienced a lot of progression with this trip the way it was, but instead I chose to give into the paranoia. So at this point I started feeling really hot, I started feeling really paranoid and scared, like I didn't know if I was caring for myself, I didn't know if I was dehydrated, I didn't know if I had eaten enough, if I was gonna faint, if I was gonna die. And then we decided to go for a walk, and in hindsight I should have never gone for a walk, but we started to go for a walk and it was pretty crazy. The whole neighborhood was like lit up with all these different colors. It was beautiful in that, but I started becoming so paranoid that I was going to see other people and that I was going to die and that the ambulance was going to be called and like that people would find out that I had taken LSD, and all these judgments and all these shames and all this flooding of bad emotion was just falling all over me. And then my parents actually live close to me, so for some reason I was like, I just want to go see my parents, and it was like the child in me that like needed comfort, but then I was resisting with myself, like, don't go to your parents, like you can handle this yourself, like this is your work to like handle this yourself. But then I was being pulled. I remember standing probably like 100 feet away from my parents' house being just like, I don't want to, like, I felt so much resistance. Like, I don't want to go in, but I do, and I don't want to go in, and they're going to be disappointed in me, and I'm going to bombard their night, and like, they're just, I mean, they understand what I'm doing for the most part, but I just didn't want to like impose on them. But I decided to go in anyway, and they were very supportive and very loving. My mom was like giving me a hug. She was like, you're okay, like, you're fine, like, you're not dying, you're not overheating, you know, she was like comforting me. And then we went back home, and I continued to freak out a little bit. I was like laying on the couch, unable to determine if I could care for myself or not. And I was just like, felt so much resistance in my core. And that's where I felt the resistance the entire time of my experience, just in my core. There's like a place like right here where you just, oh fuck, I just realized that the microphone wasn't plugged in. Shit. So yeah, so there's this place like in your core that just, it feels like a button almost, or it feels like a little place right here where you just feel all your resistance, or at least I felt all of my resistance. So I felt all my resistance there, and it was like, just almost like you cease to exist, but you're holding on with this like little part of your core that's like, no, I'm existing, I'm controlling everything, but like your body just wants to let go, your vessel wants to let go, to just shoot you off into bliss is what it felt like. But I was like, no, I'm not gonna go there, like, nah. So I was like laying on the couch, and then my husband comes over, and he was tripping too. He like put his hand on my stomach, and he was like, you are okay. Like, he became this guru, like, and he said he even felt out of body. He was like, you're okay, like, you are just fighting this, like, this is your ego, just like, and I was like, oh, like, I was starting to like let go into his voice, and I'm like, this is cool. And you know, over time I kind of calmed down a little bit. I had some food, and I had some pour water. There were water jugs everywhere. I don't even know what happened. We had like canteens, water jugs in like every single room. I think I kept like holding on to them and like bringing them, like journeying with them around my entire house. But I feel like there was water everywhere. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the movie Signs, but that little girl has freaking water cups everywhere. That's what our house looked like. So I ended up calming down. And this is when me, my husband, and the other person, we started to like really talk, and I think this was when I started to come down. So I started to come down, and we were operating in what felt like an egoless space. So we could feel our souls, we could feel our attachment. I felt like nothing but a old soul. And I actually realized in this moment why I'm so attracted to my husband, because he kept saying he was a newer soul. And I felt that energy from him. He's definitely a newer soul, and the whole experience, it was really funny. The whole experience, he kept like trying to project his experience onto everybody else because he was so excited. He's like, look, see, this is what I've been saying about, like, we have an abundance of things and we don't need all of this. Like, we're, you know, society is destroying Earth and we have too much and consumer. And I was like, yo, like, let me have my experience. And then he would kind of go in his shell, but he was so excited and he was like new to everything. And I actually felt very wise and old. And I was like, I've been here so many times before. And he was just so excited, but then I realized why I'm so connected with him in this world is because his curiosity, his excitement, his newness, and his courage. See, something that he has way more of that I even felt in that moment being egoless was his courage. He has so much courage, and I admire that in him. So it's like his newness, his spirit, his courage, his energy, I just felt so attracted to it in an egoless state, and I could see in this material world why we are together. And the other person I was with, I felt our connection. We were both old souls. I felt like we were elders of our circle, and it was beautiful. We were just talking, and we all felt egoless. Like, we didn't experience ego death, but we were like outside of our egos. And it was so beautiful. And so, but I kept feeling this pull towards both of them. Like, I'm with you guys because I'm comfortable, and my work is like the hard work, like the ego death is going to be done when I'm alone. So I actually was like voluntarily checking out right now. I'm gonna go upstairs and try to lay down. Oh God, and this is when, well, no, this isn't when the shit show started for me. I laid down and I felt an unbelievable pull to go back downstairs. It was like a pull in this part, this resistance, this part of me that was holding on at my core. I felt an unbelievable pull to go downstairs, but I fought it. And every time I fought it, I would fall into my head. I would see ancient warriors, ancient wisdom, lessons I cannot explain, connections I cannot explain. The whole night we were listening to the Native American flute. You can fall into that damn flute if you really want to. It is unbelievable. I actually fell into a clock earlier in the night. We had this big clock and it was ticking, and listening to the flute and the ticking, I literally fell into the clock and saw faces of this ancient woman talking to me. It was crazy. So I was laying here at this point in the night, and I was just falling into the sound of the flute and my head. And I think probably about 45 minutes to an hour passed. It was probably like midnight at this point, and like whatever that meant at that time. But it was probably about midnight, and my husband comes upstairs to go to sleep, and we're trying to talk, and we both can't really sleep. We're talking about the experience, and then we got up again and we were talking. We like cleaned ourselves up. He took a shower because it felt like a freaking journey. Like, I was sweating, my hair was all oily, like I was dirty. Earlier in the night, I was like walking in our backyard without shoes on, because I was like, I need to be with the earth. Like, it was just a shit show. Like, I felt grimy as fuck. So we cleaned up, and we were talking about like earlier in the night, like how, you know, we're like, oh, we're glad we didn't get like arrested out there. And we're like, arrested for what? Like, I could not figure out in the moment why anybody would ever be arrested for such an amazing experience. Like, it was so fucking silly to me. I was like this whole world is just a fucking illusion and the Matrix. Like, it is just so silly. Like, it was so silly. Like, we were just laughing, like, seriously, like, arrested for what? And I actually have videos from this part that I'm talking about right now. I may put them in here. I'm not sure if I want to do that, but if I want to do that, I'll put them in here right now. Oh my gosh, I don't even know why my ego is like trying to make me look a certain way or talk a certain way. I can't even speak to the camera of what just happened. Ugh, I don't even like the way I sound. It's not me. It's not me. I took a tab of LSD at 5:41. I don't even know what that means, but 5:41 p.m. I don't even know what time it is. I think it's like midnight. And the experience that I had was unreal. I can't even explain about it. I can't even express about it, because there are no words to describe what just happened. And I would be doing it a disservice if I tried to explain it in words, because you can't explain it with language. I know what this means now. I don't even know what, like, I don't know what numbers mean, really. Or like time means,
or anything. It's just so bizarre. Like, I know I have to wake up tomorrow for work, but I don't know what waking up tomorrow for work means. Like, what does it mean? It's like I can't even, oh my goodness. I am definitely coming back from my trip because I'm trying to make sense of all the moving parts of my life that I have to come back to in this reality, but I was not in this reality earlier, and I don't even know what that statement means. Still, this is crazy. I just can't believe that Ashley had a psychedelic experience, but what does that even mean? Because who is Ashley? Like, why have I been discounting myself this whole time of what I'm capable of? All of this ancient wisdom, ancient knowledge. I have been discounting myself and depriving myself of this. This is insane. I can't, why don't more people, why?
So yeah, so that's kind of where I was at this part in the trip. So then we actually went back downstairs again, and so the whole night felt like endless time loops. Like, you have like a little experience, and then once you move on to the next part of the experience, that old part of the experience feels like a flashback. But there's like a lesson in each loop, like a lesson in each experience. And so the whole night ends up feeling like an endless loop, and you don't understand when it's gonna end because there's so many loops that happen. And it's pretty fascinating because you're sitting there like at one part in the trip, I was like, I'm never gonna go to sleep and I am never gonna get out of this loop. Like, this is never, ever going to end. And you literally feel that way. And it's kind of scary, but then you just kind of give into it and you're like, okay, like, keep believing that it's gonna end. And you know, obviously it ends. I'm talking to you right now. Went downstairs and we were kind of hesitating going to sleep, laying down, but then we went back up, and this is when the acid shits started for me. And yes, that is a real thing. So I looked it up after the experience, but I didn't know at the time. So I first started to get so another thing is you lose the understanding of that you have bodily functions, like that you can pee and that you can like poop, that you can like crack your neck, that you have like limbs, like you lose this idea that you can do all of these things. And so like my stomach started feeling weird, and I'm like, do I have to poop? Like, I'm not sure if I have to poop or not. I don't know what this is. Like, am I having a reaction? So it was crazy. So like I had to go poop. Like, I went poop the first time, then I laid back down and I was like, okay, like I need to drink water because I did not know if I could care for myself. Like I said, I did not know if I needed to drink water or eat. So I had like almonds and walnuts and fruit by my bed. So like I would drink water and I would eat and I would be like, okay, I cared for myself. Then I would lay there for like 2 minutes and I would be like, oh my gosh, have I? I don't know. I don't believe myself. Like, I don't believe anything. I'm controlling everything and I don't know what's true and what's not. So I don't know, and I would work myself up in anxiety, then my stomach would hurt, then I would poop again and pee again, and then I would come back and do the same fucking thing. So then I would like rehydrate and eat again, and then I was going through this like never ending loop of like hydrating, eating, freaking out about it, trying to go to sleep, not being able to, having to poop and pee again, and then coming back and doing the same thing. It was like a hell. It was like a never-ending hypochondria hell. I did not know, and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm feeding myself to death. I'm overhydrating. I'm having so much water. Like, I had no perception of anything, and it was a really terrifying experience, but it was so profound in that I realized I do this on a micro level every single day in my life. And I have now learned that I don't mindfully eat or drink, and now I've been learning how to do that, and it is changing me completely, and so many other things are coming up for me. So it was terrifying, but I see how necessary it was. So I never actually went to sleep. God, my husband got up for work. He actually ended up having the day off because they were slow at work, but he ended up getting up and getting ready for work. This was like at 5:30 or 6. The other person had left at this time, and so I was alone. And I felt so shitty, and this was not from the LSD, this was from the lack of sleep. So I felt so disgusting from like not sleeping for like 36 hours at this point, I think it was, right? 24? I can't even do the math in my head right now. But I felt so shitty, and I was like, I would try to lay down, and I was so amped up from the LSD still that I was like, I'm never gonna sleep again. I literally thought I was never gonna sleep again. But what was crazy about this time, this was about 7 a.m. the next morning, every single thing, this is what LSD has done for me, and this is why my experience has been so profound. Every single thing that I do, that my ego does, that I can see is not serving me, a voice will come right after the action. Like if I'm scrolling, for example, on Facebook, and I see a picture and I have a little judgment about somebody, the voice comes up right after and is like, why are you judging that person? You shouldn't judge them. Like, that's not rooted in love. With every single action, every single thing, every single interaction, I can't explain the knowledge and the lens that I have. But for the past, like this whole week, I have been writing nonstop about every single thing that I learned from this experience. And I also, by the way, I did sleep. I eventually took a nap later that morning, and then I slept a full night that next night, and oh my goodness, like childhood sleep, blissful sleep, and I felt amazing. And every single night since then, I have been sleeping unbelievably well. And I get lessons through my sleep, lessons integrated through my sleep. I wake up with lessons now because I feel connected to my sleeping self now. I can't explain that in the way that I want to because there's so many things in my head. But I want to go get, I have a notebook. I'm gonna go get it. You probably all saw my Instagram earlier this week. I was writing stuff down. So I wrote down my biggest trip takeaways, and I swear they come every single second. Like I feel like I just have been endlessly like writing this stuff down. But I wanted to read some to you guys because there's just so many, like so much profound stuff in my trip that my mind changed. Like my mind completely changed. So here's a couple things. This is true for me and for everybody. That was the largest thing. Like it's true for me, but I see that it's true because it's true for me, it's true for everybody else. So one thing, I create my entire reality. One thing I do, I don't conserve good energy. I get excited when I have it and I go beast mode, use it up and crash. So this, like all of these feelings became tangible to me. So I saw myself like outside of myself, and I continue to see myself outside of myself now, and what my ego does to run me into the ground. I literally see a separation from my ego and my truth in every single situation and interaction that I have now. I don't know how to eat and drink mindfully. I talked about that. I judge others all of the time. My to-do list is an illusion. So it keeps me mechanical and creates false achievement, wears me into the ground, and prevents creativity. I need to figure out how to minimize the to-do list. So I literally felt myself being a mechanical robot with my to-do list every single day. And it was terrifying because I realized I've been doing this for years and I have not been living, and I've been suppressing my creativity to create a false illusion of checking something off the list to create achievement. But the achievement is not true achievement. It's not true. It's not truth. It's just a little dopamine spike that I talk about, my short-term pleasures thing. I struggle with my doing self versus my being self. So the one thing that I really realized during my trip was that it was so hard to just be. That's why I was fighting. That's why I had the resistance around not knowing how to take care of myself, because I didn't know how to just be. I didn't know how to just exist. I have to control. I have to put in effort to exist. But existence is actually effortless, and I learned this. Social media, when I use it mindlessly, is totally an escape. I move mindlessly fast when I have anxiety and I need to slow down. I was not aware how much fear holds me back. Throughout the whole trip, I kept saying, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I took acid. I can't believe Ashley took acid. But then I was like, who is Ashley? Ashley, as I'm saying I, is my ego, and my ego has only been created from all of my past experiences and everybody around me and myself and my self-talk. So I have been diminishing myself and my courage, and others around me and their judgments have been reinforcing that diminishing of me. So that's all it is. I have way more courage than I ever even understood, and every single one of you has way more courage than you even understand too. I promise, I promise. What else? Ego versus me. I spend a tremendous amount of time sitting and procrastinating and dreading and not doing or being. It's like a limbo from hell. So I have my to-do list, and I'm not being either. I'm sitting in this like little middle ground of dreading my to-do list and just procrastinating like on social media. I waste so much time doing that. During my trip, I hated expectations. Hated them. Like every time I thought about having to be a certain way or be a certain thing, anything other than just what I was, it was painful and it hurt so much. Like it hurt this part, like this core part of me, it hurt. And I realized how my entire life is centered around the expectation I put on myself. And like I said here, everything that wasn't serving me during my trip felt like pain or a smack in the face. It was like every single time I realized something about myself, it was sad. It was like, I can't believe I do this. I can't believe I'm holding on to this. Like, I can't believe this is still in my life. Like, wow. And realizations about all these other people stuck on politics and stuck on just these ideologies, like really harsh religious structures and really harsh cultures, and everybody that's so close-minded and stuck. I saw it and it felt so real, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like I couldn't believe it. And like I said, every time my ego surfaced, I would call it out. I was completely separate from my ego. Talked about dreams, seeing the resistance I bring in controlling versus being. I saw how many people lie and project, and how the whole entire world is a projection. The entire world is basically us projecting our stuff onto other people. So that's why I was even going to say in the beginning of this video is like, if you're judging me for this, that is only giving rise to the inner demons in yourself. Seriously. Every single judgment that we have, and every single disconnection, and every single moment of anger and pain, it is a moment within ourselves it is a moment to understand that there is something imbalanced within us. It is not the other person. Every single other person is a mirror for our own stuff. And I felt this. I saw how fear drives everything. Another thing, I saw how I create and anticipate situations before they happen. I get angry, I create narratives before they even exist, and then I'm angry about something before it has even happened. This is toxic. I've been doing this my whole life though. I make this scenario that hasn't even happened, that may happen or may not happen, but I think it's gonna happen because of what's happened in the past, and then I expend energy on it and get angry about it before it's even a thing. Why? Like, who does, like, that's such a waste of time, so unproductive. So I lost all perception of time. It made me realize that time is a social construct, and you know, there's really no proof around anything. How do we know what happens exactly when we die, or if there's timelines or all? I'm not even gonna get into that right now because my mind will hurt if I start going there. Never any loops that feel like flashbacks. Thought I would be scared of the visuals, talked about that. I lost the ability to properly care for myself. I saw the interconnectedness of everyone. So the people I was tripping with, I felt their energies. I felt how every single thing that they said or did, I reacted to as a reflection of myself. So I saw how this entire existence is literally interconnected. All of us are interconnected. That's why when one person has pain, we all have pain. I can't explain this in the way I want to right now, but we are all interconnected. I saw the challenge of being able to call out ignorance and be around it. Ancient wisdom and psychedelics. I got so many ancient lessons and wisdom that I cannot explain in language. I just can't. It is a connection in my brain that I can't, and people that have taken psychedelics know exactly what I'm talking about. Music is very powerful. very powerful. The flute, like I said, we fell into the flute many times, and it is so important just what music you're listening to, because it can influence your trip. And that's another thing, you create your entire trip. Everything that goes on in your head that comes up out in front of you, you create it. So if you go in thinking you're gonna have a dark trip, kind of like what I did, you know, your house can turn into a mental freak show. If you're out in nature wanting to appreciate its beauty and soak in all of the amazing things that it has to offer, your trip can be like that. It is literally created by you, which made me realize that our entire reality is created by us too. You know, it's no different in the material world versus the psychedelic world that I was in. And let's see, huge fear of judgment, being judged by the experience from ignorant people. I talked about this in the beginning of the video. I already have an idea of some people that may judge me. This is me again right now, making a hypothetical scenario before it exists. But just from past experiences, I have a fear of judgment, and I know some people still are stuck back in to what they believe LSD is, and you know, without intention, using it without intention, and like the party scene back in the day. So I talked about that. I realize when I voluntarily partake in actions to make me angry and bring me down, like people that I've unfollowed because their profiles maybe make me irritated or ignorant, but I realize when I actually have already unfollowed them, but then I go to see what they're up to, it's like me trying to get angry. And I felt that. I see my ego. Mine and my husband's relationship dramatically improved overnight with this experience. I mean, we already had, I feel like, a very grounded, loving relationship, but with this experience, we have seen each other on a whole different playing field now. And we can't talk over each other anymore. We give each other the floor now. Like all of the things that we used to do, like the bickering or little things in our relationship that we used to do that felt just so unproductive, we can't do them anymore. It just feels so unproductive. It feels like it's not serving us, it's not productive, and so we just don't do them. Like I appreciate him so much more. I think he appreciates me. I'm not gonna speak for him, but I feel that from him. And it's just so different. Like it's amazing. It's harder to do things that feel attached to the material world because they feel meaningless. Like, for example, I got married, earlier this year, and I have to change my name. But I'm just like, I have to change my name. Like, that is so meaningless. It is so small. Like, I have to change my last name from Mello to Rothstein, and like, for what? Like, just for this little play that we're putting on. Like, that's honestly how I feel. Another huge thing, I can feel my energy filling and depleting. So with every single thing I do now, if I have like a bad interaction or even an exhausting conversation, I can feel my energy like pouring out. Or if I do something like meditate or work out or laugh, I feel my energy rising again. So I feel these energies so tangibly within myself. So it's a great marker for me to like keep moving forward and see what's serving me and what isn't. I have a desire to exit situations with new people quickly. I see that in myself and I want to work on that. I show people things to get a reaction. So I'm the person that will watch a movie like 10 times because I want to watch it with 10 different people to see their emotions from it. But I realize that's not serving me because I'm literally in mindless mode, watching and waiting for an expectation from somebody else. And I never saw that before this experience, and I see it now. I've had to I don't have a big enough memory card, so I've had to stop this twice. My memory card has been full twice, and now this is like the third chunk, if you will. So I had no idea how long this video is going to be, but I guess it's going to be over an hour. But the last thing that I wanted to say was a huge thing that I realized is be careful who you tell things to and who you ask for advice from. Because every single person brings their own baggage, their own perspectives, their own trauma, their own hardship. So if you have something that you want advice from somebody on, and you ask a certain person, you have to understand that they are going to bring their lens of life, which may not be aligned with where you want to go, to your situation, and that can influence your decision if you allow it to. And that's just a huge thing that I realized through this trip. That is the main notes that I have uncovered through this experience. These are the main notes, but there's so much more. I keep writing stuff down constantly. I am just never ending writing. Like you guys probably saw me on my Instagram. I was like writing on this big piece of paper that I have over there. I've been writing in this notebook. I've been writing in my planner, writing in my phone. Like whenever something comes to my mind, I just write, because this experience, I have to say, showed me the mirror. Like it just put a huge freaking mirror around me, everywhere around me, and it showed me so much of what I've been doing and a whole new lens of life. It is so powerful. It is so unbelievably powerful. I can't, you know, I'm so hesitant because I know people do this when they're new to psychedelics. They're like, everybody should do this. Everybody should see life this way. Everybody should see colors. Everybody should see themselves. And I'm hesitant, like I feel like I want to share that message, but at the same time, I know that they're not for everybody and not everybody's ready to see themselves, because seeing yourself can be terrifying and just so frightening, because you don't even understand, we don't even understand what we're doing most of the time to ourselves, and that everything is done to ourselves and everything is a choice. If you believe anything happens to you, that is an illusion. It is completely an illusion and is a victim mentality. So I learned that, and I see it so clearly than ever before. But most people don't understand that. So it's really hard to like operate sometimes in this world where people don't understand that, but you have a different lens. And I'm just trying to integrate this experience into my life. And when I was coming back from this trip, a huge thing was I struggled to understand how the reality that I was in was going to morph back into the reality that we all know in this day and age of just the material world, as I call it. I struggled to figure out how I was going to transition back into it. And it was challenging, and I still have challenges being around people and knowing what I know and seeing what I see. But this experience has just been, I don't have words. I did the best that I could today explaining this to all of you. And for those of you that are more seasoned with psychedelics, I'm sure you can understand what I'm talking about. For those that are new, hopefully this provided some insight if you have some curiosity. And I'm definitely going to be taking psychedelics again in the future. I'm not sure when. These are not addictive substances. I don't feel a pull to take it again very soon. I need to digest this experience for a long period of time and keep integrating it into my life before I choose to take it again. But I definitely will be taking it again, because it was so powerful and so profound that I feel like I would only be doing myself a disservice if I didn't consume it again to try to learn about myself again. Ayahuasca is something I'm really interested in that I know I will take, or I believe I will take in my life. Psilocybin mushrooms as well. DMT is one I'm still kind of scared about. I don't know if I really desire that experience, but only time will tell. Can't tell right now. But I'm so thankful that LSD found me. And as you can see, I did not plan for it at all, but it just found me. It came to me. It held my hand, took me through some dark shit, showed me some amazing shit. And I am so grateful. And if you feel like you're ready to take a psychedelic, I highly encourage it. Coming from someone who was absolutely terrified, absolutely scared, did not think that she held courage to take it, did not think she'd be able to handle it, I am here talking to all of you about how amazing and how profound it is. That was a long video, and holy shit, that was a long video. Thank you so much for tuning in to hear about my life-changing event. I hope it's inspired you. I hope you were entertained, or I hope you got something out of this. If you like this video, definitely give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content about spirituality, psychedelics, the mind, self-development, and all the sort of things that I talk about, definitely subscribe to my channel. Your support means a lot. And yeah, I think that is all for me today. I'm sure I'm going to end this and be like, shit, I didn't talk about this part of my trip, because there were so many parts. I know I did not cover everything, but I tried to cover the highlights. But I'm sure you guys will comment and I can add some stuff as I see fit. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention, and I will see you next time.